Hi guys, welcome to your week 2 of your manners training class. I feel really bad that this is going on and we're not able to get together as a group, but my hope, and I apologize for the probably poor video quality, and the lighting's not great and I'm really not good at this, but hopefully it'll help you a little bit, give you a little bit of insight, allows me to help you during this critical time where you've started training your dogs and want to carry on with it. My hope is that in June, maybe when it warms up a little bit, we can get together for 2 or 3 sessions outside at the Opportunity Center and kind of check everybody's work and see where everyone's at and kind of help you one-on-one. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our attention exercise. So the attention that we talked about last week in regards to eye contact from our puppies, our young dogs, we wanted to call their name, tried not to call it repeatedly, just once, maybe twice. When the dog looked and made eye contact with you, you mark and treat. So the mark is your yes word or your clicker that tells tells the dog the moment that they earn the reward, and then the treat follows. So you marked and treated eye contact now for a few weeks because we haven't been together for a few, and now I want to talk about raising the criteria with that. So with any behavior you're teaching of your dog, there's kind of an entry level position or a kind of a base starting point with a behavior, and then as they get better at it or as we build it, we want to raise the criteria. In regards to attention, there's 2 things that you want to think about with your criteria. There is how quickly does my dog look at me when I call his name, and how long does he hold how long does he hold eye contact, so duration. In my opinion, it is best to work how quickly does my dog look at me when I call their name. It's best to work that criteria first before you get too hung up on duration or on sustained eye contact from your dog. Reason being, the duration part, when you start working on that, that involves withholding reward for longer performance. Whereas if your dog is still a little unsure about making that initial eye contact, or that they should quickly check in with you when they hear their name, then it can get a little gray as far as working on that duration. So I really encourage people to work on a timely response to their name first. Now, keep in mind, this is kind of the key point of the lesson, is we make it clear to our dogs what we like best based on how we offer our food rewards. And when we're trying to raise criteria of eye contact, we want to only mark and treat the faster responses they give us. So if they're slow, if they're distracted, if they're sniffing, they're scratching, they're not really paying attention, and then they finally check in and give you eye contact, you can still praise that. You're still early in your training. I would encourage them and applaud them for showing up, but not give them a paycheck. So keep in mind that our inclination as people with dogs is that if they struggled with it, or it took them a little extra time before they checked in, or they were distracted by another dog or something, and then they finally looked, our inclination is to, yeah, that's it, buddy, and treat. Only when we begin this exercise. But when we're raising criteria, we want to make it clear to them we like it best when they look quickly. Again, my demos are going to be like so because my dogs do tend to know this stuff. So the demos aren't definitely going to be maybe as helpful as I had hoped. I learned on Sunday when I did videos for my Tuesday night class that when my puppy is tired after a 2-hour hike, he's not great for demos. He just kept laying down and yawning. So today we didn't do an extra walk. I hoped he might be a little bit more alive and willing to work, but he knows a lot of these things pretty well, so the demonstrations aren't going to be quite as dramatic, I guess, in their approach. So my dogs are just outside here. I will let Riggs in, and I'm going to do a little demo with him. Wait, Jojo. Wait. Hi, you want to do some more? Hi. So again, this guy's pretty good at it. He's been working on this criteria for eye contact for a little while now. I might just take a moment and see if he gets a little bit distracted and try to call him. But what you want to see is, I actually might move that Sorry, I'm terrible at this. I might move this for a bit of a better perspective. See if that's any. I can get. You can see a little bit more of my dog. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So what you want to notice is that. Okay, buddy. I only acknowledge kind of the fastest responses to his name. So I'm gonna. Hopefully he'll be a bit distracted. Yeah, he's not gonna be distracted. Is the problem. Riggs. Yes. Okay, so you can see my puppy's really quick in his response to his name. I say his name and boom, he looks right away. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because I trained it. It happened because I only marked and rewarded when I started raising criteria the fastest responses. If he was slow or distracted, Riggs. Yes. See, he's still pretty quick. If he was slow or distracted, he only got praise from me. I would still praise him, tell him he was a good boy for looking at me, but he didn't get that reward, food or toy, whichever I was working. Riggs? Yes. So again, I can't really fault him for that. He's pretty quick. And I don't think Josie'd be any different. She's on the other side of the patio door staring at me as well. But yeah, that's kind of the goal or idea with your, sorry guys, this is awful. That's the idea with your attention training, is that you want to just try to mark and reward the fastest responses that your dog gives. Again, certainly praise the slower ones, but let them know you like it best when you work quickly. I probably should have left my thing in the same spot. I'm going to show you guys how to do a down with your dogs. Most of your dogs, if I remember from the very first week we were together, your dogs are actually pretty spot on. So this is just really going to add maybe a little bit of insight if you were struggling with anything. But the down, you can train it a couple of ways, and I of course will show you both and tell you kind of how I go about doing it. I like a bit of a lure and reward method, and I'm going to show you two ways to lure them into position. Some dogs will do it well in both way techniques. Some dogs, just based on their body and what's comfortable for them, some dogs are a little bit more comfortable with one or the other. So I'm going to show you quickly with Riggs how to lure and reward into the down position. Here, buddy. So for a lot of dogs, starting from a sit position, you have your food nice and close to their nose. I let them kind of lick at it. I'll often hold onto their collar too, just to keep them from moving around. Slowly bring their nose to the ground, yes. And when their elbows hit the ground and their bum's on the ground, you mark with your yes and a food reward. Okay, buddy. Again, food to the nose, he's already ready, yes. Okay, so once they're doing that pretty reliably, and there's no struggle for you to get them into that down position with a food lure, you can start adding the verbal cue. And you would do that just at the commitment point. You don't want to do it too early when your dog is learning this. Wait, but you don't want to do it say the word too early when your dog is learning this. If you're still struggling to get them into position and they're questioning it, wait. And again, when you introduce the command, you want to almost do it simultaneously with them completing that behavior. That's why I say wait to the commitment point. Wait till you know that your dog is going to go down. Say your word at that time. When we're teaching new behaviors, you almost want to say them, like I said, simultaneously. When the behavior is being completed, you give them that verbal so that they pair those together. That's that classical conditioning we talked about. Okay, but sit. Flat. So I use the word flat for my down behavior in dogs, so that's the cue he hears. Okay, buddy, stand. The other way to get your dog, this is a terrible video, I'm sorry. The other way to get your dog into a down position is from a stand. Yes, okay, and actually this, I'm going to change my perspective a bit. So when you do the luring from a stand, my dog's not used to a lot of treats, so he's excited about it. It's not COVID, it's just a cough. You want to kind of lure back at an angle towards their back or their front feet. This is not my way of teaching. I prefer a class. Come here, buddy. Stand. Wiggle and roll. Come here. Just a minute, please. It's pretty key. Yes. So it's hard to appreciate with Riggs because he's pretty quick about it and he already knows what we're going to do. But if your dog's nose is here and their front feet are back here, I lure kind of back at a bit of an angle so that they sort of fold back. Again, my puppy does it pretty quickly, so it's hard to appreciate. And then what I tend to do in a session is I tend to, if I have a new puppy that's learning this, I tend to do a bit of that lure and reward of it. Few times. I'll do some repetitions with a lure and reward, and then I'll just hang out with my dog, my new puppy, who's just been rewarded for going into that position a few times, and I'll just wait and see if they happen to offer it. And if they do, if I stand here long enough with him, he usually will, as will Joe's. You may not see it because he may be off the screen. Okay, so Riggs offers to lie down, and he does that because I have marked and rewarded him for doing it on his own. So what that means is that it's shaping his choices, it's shaping his behavior. So I really do, especially with the down behavior, I really do like to do a little bit of lure and reward so that I have some control and some say over when they execute this behavior and how they do it and how they learn it. And I like to shape it because I like my dog to make the choice to lie down often, because a dog that's lying down isn't jumping on people begging for food, being a pest. They're quietly kind of waiting for their handler's next move or command. So that's okay, buddy. So that tends to be what I do. It's certainly what I did with this fella. It's certainly what I did with Josie. And both of them have nice, what I call default, default down positions, which means that it's been made to be a meaningful spot for them. It's a place where they're comfortable and they know they're going to get lots of reinforcement for. So that's your down command for your dogs. And again, I'm sure most of you your dogs already know that. But send me a video. Send me a video of what you're doing for your downs. Let me see what's going on. Don't be shy with your videos. This is a private group. Only other people in your class are going to see them if they decide to look at them. But everyone can benefit from another person's video, perhaps the feedback that I give them. And be patient with me. Again, this is very new for me, but I will comment on everybody's videos in time for sure, within a few days, and give you a little bit of feedback on what you can be doing, whether it's good or bad or whatever. So that's your down. The next thing that I'm going to share with you guys, and this is what I'm most disappointed that you didn't get live and for real in a classroom with one of the class dogs for me to demo, because I think it's the most important lesson that I share in any of my training classes. It's called Be Still. It's teaching your dog to be calm and thoughtful rather than reactive to certain situations. The lady who taught me this, her name is Brenda Aloff. I actually just spent a little time this afternoon trying to find any YouTube videos that she might have that might kind of complement this lesson that I'm going to give you tonight. And there was one I found that was okay. She kind of explains it a little bit, and you see her working the technique in a dog. So I may share that if it will let me to my page later as well. Just to give you a little insight and see her working it in a dog that doesn't know it yet. Riggs does know it, Josie knows it as well. Honestly, it saved my life with my Border Collie puppy. I would never have been able to survive. I would never have this calm and thoughtful little guy right here that is just waiting for me to direct him next. It is by far the most profound thing I've ever learned about dog training, and it's changed everything for me in the face of how I understand dogs, what I do with them, what I recognize in them, and how I handle them to encourage them to work better for me and be a bit more connected. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the physiology of the dog's brain and how things work, and then explain this technique in, again, it's not going to be a great demo with Riggs, but in how it will work to calm your dog when they're excited, scared, overreactive, to perhaps a stimulation like a dog or a mailman or something like that. So dogs have front brain behaviors and they have hind brain behaviors. The hind brain behaviors are the behaviors we like least in our dogs. It is the overexcitement, overstimulated, barking, jumping, not thoughtful, doesn't even know his name in the presence of this stimulation, doesn't respond to you, doesn't know how to sit. Nothing that you can do at home happens well when your dog is in this state of mind. And it's true, they can't actually even process anything. The hind brain is the reactive, emotional, instinctive part of the brain, the fight or flight part of the brain. Not a lot of thought goes on there. It's all reaction. So if we have a way that we can encourage our dogs to like, just take a moment, just breathe a bit, just relax, and be more thoughtful, we can get way more done. We can have a dog that's more connected to us, a dog that takes our leadership and our cues a bit more seriously because they're actually able to process it. It's magical. It is the magic of dog training, and I feel it's the best kept secret in dog training, period. When I learned this, it was probably like 7 or 8 years ago now. It was a life-changing weekend for me to listen to this woman speak all weekend, work reactive dogs, work sometimes just dogs that were distracted in the obedience ring, that the owners were looking to have a more connected performance. Amazing. She blew me out of the water. Brenda Aloff, Get Connected. That's her book. You can buy it. It's awesome. But anyhow, so what this exercise is all about is, and again, my dog's not going to be terribly excited, but it's about just getting your dog to be still. Okay, they're going to stand in a position, all fours, in a stand. I'm going to hold on to his collar, and what I want you to watch for in Riggs, and I'll try to kind of get him a little bit excited too, but what I want you to watch for in Riggs is he's going to give me a calming signal. So calming signals in dogs include lip licking, yawning, or cleansing sigh. You're probably not going to see the yawn or the cleansing sigh anytime really soon, so we are going to release them when they do the lip lick. Okay, so when you see your dog lick their lips, it's actually a sign of relaxation. It says that they're releasing tension from their jaw. So what we want to do when that happens, here buddy, is we actually want to release them. We want to give them a bit of a release when that happens. Again, I don't have the best perspective here. Let's see if this is any better. Sorry guys. Hopefully I'll get better at this as time goes on. And the lighting is never really great either. Yeah, that makes it worse. Okay, here buddy. So what I want you to learn to do with your dogs, and I'll explain uses for this exercise in a moment, but what I want you to learn to do with your dogs is you're going to take them and you're going to have them in a standing position. I use one of my legs to kind of support the dog, and I have them by their collar. You're not going to appreciate a lip lick probably, my dog, because of the lighting, but hopefully you will a bit. So, and then you're going to take your other hand. One is holding the collar, the other hand is just rubbing the dog. Your dog has two choices. They can fight you, and they can struggle to try to get away, which they usually do at first. I'll tell you my story of Riggs in a minute, where we began with this. Or they can give in to you and they can relax. So it's important that the dogs stay in the position that you put them in. So you saw maybe Riggs tried to sit, and I kind of lifted on his belly to discourage him from sitting. Again, he is calm, but I still want to see a signal from him to tell me that he's actually kind of accepting and giving in to my touch. And that signal I'm looking for is for him to just lick his lips. And when he does, I'm going to release my pressure. I'm going to step right back, and I'm going to take my hands off him. Again, he's trying to sit a bit. That's him trying to get out of the position a little bit, putting up a tiny bit of a fight. What I'm going to try to do with this is another time when I have some help with videos and can maybe do something outside, I may try to do this and get him really worked up and excited outside and show you how it works. Because this really saved my saved my relationship with my Breyer dog in controlling his reactivity. And with this guy, it really helped me connect with him and keep him a little bit more thoughtful instead of just him going a million miles a minute all the time and not being terribly responsive to when I needed him to be calm and thoughtful. So he's kind of, again, Riggs pushes me in a different way. He's sort of trying to like look and see maybe what the cat's doing. So that's why I keep sort of pushing his head back, because that's him trying to like, I'm not really interested in this relaxation right now. I'd rather go see what's going on. So you see me kind of pushing his head back so that he's not trying to look around me to see if there's something he could get excited by or stimulated by. He's actually drooling. Feel it on his lips. But yet, he has yet to give me a signal that he's given in. He's still fighting me, so he's still moving. And he's still trying to look away. Persistence is key with this. You don't necessarily want to increase your force, but you do want to be increasingly persistent and constantly persistent. Again, him just moving his head to try to look at something else, or maybe want to sniff the floor or look away. That's him sort of trying to get out of this and wanting me to let him go. So that's why you see me kind of directing his head a bit. Just because I know my dog. It's just experience for me on that. Getting sore, so I have to get down a bit with him. Usually it doesn't take this long for this guy. And I don't tend to do a lot of talking to them. I talk when I explain my demo, but I don't tend to do a lot of talking to the dog. It's a good boy. It's a conversation of body language. And again, you maybe weren't able to appreciate the subtle little lick that he gave me, but he did kind of lick his lips, which tells me that he gave in. Good boy, Riggs. And again, my dog is being very attentive, but usually when I do this with a class dog, what I will do, there's no food involved in the reward of the exercise. So the reward for this exercise is actually the release of the pressure. So when I take my hands off the dog, when I stop moving his face from where I don't want it to be and doing all this rubbing, when I stop doing that and I step away from him, that's actually his reward for the behavior. That's his reward for giving in. But because I'm going to use this exercise when my puppy or dog is overstimulated, overexcited, distracted, not thoughtful and attentive, what I want to do is I teach my dogs to then, in turn, come around and look at me. So I will do the be still, I will do all that rubbing and handling. They give me a relaxation cue. I take my hands off and step back, and then I call my dog. Riggs. Riggs. Yes. And I'll reward my dog for coming back and maintaining some eye contact. Flat. Sit. For doing something thoughtful and staying connected with me, I'll reward them for that. So don't be fooled. The reward is not for relaxation. The reward is for staying in that relaxed and connected state of mind and being able to follow through with some commands from the handler. So again, I will try to post, I'm going to try to post Brenda's demonstration of this with a Westie. And then on the weekend, when I have maybe a bit more help, I'm going to try to do it outside with Riggs and get him really worked up. Maybe he and Josie worked up and playing, and then grab him, because he actually settles faster in those moments because he's in this heightened state of mind. I think sometimes, in my experience anyways, when you grab a dog that's already fairly relaxed and you try to encourage them to relax, it can take a little bit longer. So I think kind of that was my issue with Riggs in this demo, is that he was already like, I'm kind of thoughtful and calm anyway right now, but it's a little bit more dramatic when he's really high and worked up, and then when I grab him, you see him immediately giving one of those cues, like probably within, I'd say 20 seconds or less, unless there's something that's still very exciting going on and he refuses to relax still. We're working on it, but typically it's a little bit more dramatic when he's a little bit more heightened and then brought to that calming state. So a little background with Riggs and this behavior, and with my Briar dog. So Briar was by far the most reactive dog that I had, which meant that he was the kind of dog that would bark at other dogs, whether they barked at him or not. He would usually react. He would just squeal with excitement over the top, over lots of different things. And until I learned this technique, I band-aided that behavior at best. Like, I didn't do anything to really fix it. I just kind of managed it. But this Be Still was the best thing that ever happened to me with that dog and our relationship. I went from struggling to deal with him in the presence of other dogs that were excited. I went from that to being able to, just with one touch, get him to immediately give me a lick cue, a calming cue, and connect with me. So but I had a lot of work to do in the beginning to make that happen. Similar to what you just saw me do with Riggs, I would do with my Briar dog, sometimes for 10, 12, 15 minutes out on the corner of the street after he had just squealed at another dog that was long gone out of our sight, but I would still continue to work and hold to my criteria that Briar give in with some relaxation. It changed everything. It changed my whole world with him, and I'm so grateful that I learned it, and that tool was brought to me at an appropriate time when I had a good teacher to learn how to use it with, which was Briar. So that brings me to Mr. Riggs here, who, Riggs, come here, heel. I know you were very thirsty. It was a lot of work you had to do, wasn't it? So when I brought Riggs home, he was my first Border Collie puppy. I had a Border Collie in the past, but she was older when I got her. And I specifically got him because of his work ethic, because he is from strong sheepdog, from herding lines, generations upon generations of very hardworking dogs. Brings me this guy. So he was a lot of puppy. And I went from having Josie, who was the last who was the last puppy that I had before this guy. Joe's was basically perfect. She was challenging in her own ways, but like a dream, very easy, very relatively biddable. But I had 2 other Aussies at home, helped train her. She was just easy. This kid, he was a punk right out of the gate. So I thought to myself when I got him, like, put your money where your mouth is, Angie. This Be Still business that you say is magical. Like, it's either going to work with this kid or it's not. It's either going to change everything or you're just going to fail. So it was rough. It was really rough. In the beginning, I got him at 10 weeks old, and he wouldn't give me a calming signal, not even in my house with no stimulation. I would grab him and hold him and do this rubbing. He would physically grind his teeth against me. So he didn't fight so much in like a flaily. A lot of puppies or young dogs, they'll scream, they'll try to bite, they'll like alligator roll to the floor. This guy didn't do that. He just resisted through grinding his teeth. I've never felt that before, ever. In any puppy in my puppy class, any of my manners dogs, not ever, never. I thought like, whoa, what do I do with this? Anyhow, so what I did with this is accepted no calming signal, but when the puppy stopped grinding his teeth, I'd let him go. That was my first with him. So then it got progressively better and better and better. I'd say probably within maybe 2 or 3 weeks of using the exercise every single day, he stopped grinding his teeth, and then I could actually hold him out and wait for a calming cue. And when I held him out, it might take me 15 or 20 minutes for the first little bit, and he's extreme. Okay, so most of your puppies are going to settle, I'd say probably within 10, or maybe even 15, but probably 10. Be persistent. Don't let them wiggle away from you. Don't let them flop to the ground. Hold them firm. Not forcefully, but firm with persistence. Recognize the calming signal like the lip lick or the yawn. If you get that, hands off, step away from your puppy, then call them back to you. Train them, teach them that after they connect with you, they should come back and look at you. And then that's going to give you a lot better control going forward. So hopefully I didn't bore you with that. Hopefully you were able to appreciate a little bit of that demo. It was a terrible demo with Riggs. And again, the lighting in here is poor. I'll have to figure this out over the next couple weeks and get these videos better. But anyway, send me a video of that too. I really would like to see that if you can, because technique is important. Not letting your dog go too soon is really of utmost importance. If they learn that they can wiggle their way out of this without giving you a signal that they've given in, it's going to just get harder and harder and harder for you. So the last, well, I've got two things I'm going to leave you with. One is just a demo. Well, I guess they're both really just demos, but a sit stay, and then I'm going to try to do a demo about a mat target demo for you guys. So sit stay, come here, bud. So a sit stay involves three things in its criteria: duration, distance, and distraction. I think that the first thing that you really should work on getting good at with your stays is duration. Before you start going too far, that's kind of the glory part of the stay. People like to get really far away from their dogs. Wait until you have consistency in some duration and an understanding from your dog that they need to hold position and not move until you say so before you go adding too much distance. So again, I'm going to try to get maybe a different perspective. This is all very experimental for me as to where I can get kind of the best. Yeah, none of this is great. All right, I'm going to put you on the floor again. This is probably my worst video yet, guys. So sorry. All right, so for your sit stay, here, buddy, let me sit. Good job. So I'll try to do this a bit on an angle. Here, buddy. So you can see. Here, buddy. Yeah. Go just a leash length. Don't go too far. You want to say stay and leave your dog. Leash, actually, not even a leash length. I want you to go about half a leash length or less. If you've already progressed with this and are going further, that's fine. But if your dog is moving before you've actually released them, go back to staying a bit closer. So you want to stay fairly close as your dog holds position. Yes. Step in, offer them a food reward, stay. Repeat your stay. Yes. Step in, offer food reward, stay. Repeat your stay. So again, I know that we did